Hello and welcome to this week's Motorbike Show. This week I'm going to talk about the Milan Motor Show that's just happened last week. This is an annual show where all manufacturers at the end of this year announce all the sort of new models and releases for next year. So what I've done, I've chosen sort of 5 bikes that I think are the most important bikes from the show. So number 1 on my list, and this one is a bit of a cheat really because it's not from the motorbike show at all. It was actually released about a week before, and this is the Triumph Scrambler 1200. So there's 2 versions of this. There's the XE, which is more road focused, and then the XE, which is more off-road focused. So it's got sort of 21-inch wheel and lots of other changes. But yeah, the current Triumph Scrambler, that's got the 900 cc engine. This is the 1200, so this engine's come out of the Thruxton, makes about 90 horsepower, it's just over 200 kilos, so it's not a heavy bike. Price wise it starts around 12 grand, so it's not a cheap bike, but when you look at what it is, it starts to make a bit more sense. It just sort of oozes quality, so it's got Brembo brakes, adjustable Showa forks, Öhlins rear suspension. It even has a sort of TFT dash that looks like a sort of round retro dial, but includes things like connection to your smartphone. It even has things like Google Maps integration. And what I've not seen before, it can connect to your GoPro as well, so you can sort of control your GoPros from it. And it looks a really nice unit as well, being TFT. So these arrive in dealers early next year, and I'm already hooked up with one to be reviewing one as soon as they sort of hit dealers. So I'm really looking forward to that early next year. So number 2 on my list is a bit of a cheat again. It's 2 bikes, but based on the same thing. So it's Royal Enfield with their Interceptor 650 twin and the Continental GT 650 twin. Like I say, these are really, it's the same bike, the same frame, same engine and everything, but the Continental is more sort of cafe racer styled with lower bars and that kind of thing. I think Royal Enfield are a really interesting sort of company anyway, and I think they're really going places. They're really up in the game. So they obviously brought out the Himalayan last year. It's a sort of adventure bike or dual sport bike. And it's just over 4 grand, so there's not many other things out there that can compete with that. And every sort of review and owner's review of those are really painting them in a good light. So they're obviously now going for this sort of custom scene. It looks a great bike, does this. It's just under 50 horsepower, so it's A2 friendly as well. I think it looks fantastic, and they've sort of announced the colours and the prices just a couple of days ago. So these are going to start at 5.5 grand, which to me sounds like a bit of a bargain. It looks really nice. I also think there's going to be a sort of big aftermarket modification. There's going to be a big market for this, in the same way as the sort of Triumphs with the Street Twins. I think if I'd just put a Street Twin, I'd be a bit worried that I might have spent a lot more money than I had to, but we don't know that yet. So like I say, 5.5 grand for one of these, or 8.5, 9 grand for a Street Twin, it's a big difference. So you'd expect there to be a quality difference. So it depends what your budget is. But like I say, there's lots of parallels with Triumph. I do think that the Royal Enfield are in the sort of place that Triumph were a few years ago. I think it really is a brand to sort of watch now. So really looking forward to those, and they come out beginning of next year as well. They should be hitting showrooms. So again, I'm hopefully going to get one of those to review. So number 3 on my list is the Yamaha Taniya 700. So this has been a sort of long-awaited bike. The old Taniyas were sort of known for the Paris-Dakar rally and were super successful. This has been sort of long awaited, this replacement. So again, looks fantastic. Quality-wise, everything seems great. It's got sort of long travel suspension, Brembo brakes. Seems a lot more off-road focused than just a sort of design exercise as well. So the engine's from the MT-07, so that's just over 70 horsepower. But like I say, it's not just a design exercise, it's to make it look like an off-roader. It's got an all-new chassis, like I say, this long travel suspension. I think it's going to be a really interesting one. And I also think pricing-wise it's going to be quite sensible. They haven't announced what the prices are, but if you're going to be comparing that to the sort of mid or high-level adventure bikes, I think this might make a lot more sense and be a lot less money. Like I say, looks-wise, it really looks like an off-road beast, and it's got a really distinctive sort of 4 LED headlight that I just think looks fab. So really looking forward to seeing what they're like when they come out. Again, they've not announced the price, but yeah, I think it should be quite sensible. So number 4 on my list is from Honda this time. So this is the Honda CB650, and this is the Neo Sports Cafe. So this is their new sort of design. So they look a little bit retro, but still very modern. And to me, this was a huge omission, and I'm really not surprised they brought it out, because currently they have the CB125R, the 300R, and then there's a big jump to the 1000R. So the current horsepower, a 300R's around 30 horsepower, but then the 1000R is 150 horsepower, and there was nothing to sit in the middle there, and that's exactly where this is. This is just under 100 horsepower, it's around 200 kilos, so it's not heavy either. Again, I just think the look of these Neo Sports Cafe Hondas, they just look fantastic, and being a Honda, it's going to be reliable, it's well put together, it's decent quality all round. Price-wise, again, they've not announced this, but I'm thinking it's going to be sort of sensible around where their typical sort of 650 machines usually are, and we should be seeing that next year too. So number 5 on my list, my last thing, is not a specific bike, but a sort of shift in motorcycling. So as you'd sort of expect, a bit like the car industry and manufacturers, then there's lots of electric stuff out there. Lots of manufacturers showing an electric bike. There's lots of performance-related electric bikes. But some of those are some silly money, like £90,000 for one of them, but ridiculously fast. I do think that things are going to move that direction, whether people like that or not. I rode one of the Zero motorcycles earlier this year, and I did a short review that I'll link. And I was really, really impressed. And yes, it was a strange experience at first, especially the lack of noise, and I do think there are some issues with that. But the torque and sort of power of these things is something else. It's a really strange experience. As you'd expect, then sort of the existing manufacturers like Zero, they're getting better power and better range with every upgrade they do. So again, that's exactly what they've announced for sort of next year, more range and more power. But yeah, I think once some of these mainstream manufacturers come on board, and these things are just going to keep improving, so it's certainly one to keep an eye out. So yeah, so that was my little, not really review, but thoughts about the Milan Motorbike Show. As I said, I've not chosen specific bikes that I think are things like the BMW S1000RR. Then yes, they're great, but I've chosen bikes there that I think are making the sort of biggest difference in the industry, and also sort of the more common things at more sensible prices to some of the silly expensive stuff. So that's it for this week. I hope you found all that useful. Please do leave any comments, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks.